Welcome to Emerging Franchise Brands, the podcast that introduces you to the visionary founders of America's fastest growing franchise opportunities. We'll also hear from industry pros as they share insights on what it really takes to achieve the elusive milestone of 100 plus locations. I am your host, Frank Fumey, founder of I9 Sports, and my 20-year journey from inception to acquisition has given me a unique perspective on how to succeed in franchising. Join me as we welcome today's guest. Before I start today's show, I have exciting news for founders, CEOs, and franchise brand presidents. Join me January 14th through the 16th, 2025 in Tampa for the first ever Emerging Franchise Brands live event, an exclusive opportunity designed just for you. It's my blueprint for success at every stage of franchising, one I wish I'd had, packed with real-world solutions and strategies to solve your challenges today and prepare for those you'll face tomorrow. Space is limited, so head over to emergingfranchisebrands.com to secure your spot today. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. On today's show, I have the CEO and co-founder of Facialworks, Jason Gilboa. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Frank.
Well, Jason, why don't you tell us all about Facialworks? What do you guys do, and how did the company get started?
To make it brief, we're a facial brand. We only do facials. We're kind of known for two things. One is doing high quality express facials at our facial bar, where you can sit with your friends, enjoy a glass of champagne, watch a movie, and get an incredible oxygen facial starting at $85. So an incredible deal. We also have traditional treatment rooms where we're known for doing the HydraFacial, top 100 HydraFacial providers actually on the entire planet. Just with our 4 locations. So that's kind of what we're known for and, the basics of what we do. In addition to that, we have our own product line that was formulated and designed by my co-founder and wife, Megan. That's kind of where we're at now. We have 4 current corporate locations opening 2 more, and just launched franchising here.
Nice.
In terms of how it started, my wife and co-founder is a licensed esthetician who came from a background working in medical aesthetics, and kind of got to see what, the best of the best of skincare out there, but kind of came from like a, Beverly Hills type med spa where it was only really accessible to the wealthy, the kind of elite people out there. And I think she had this idea that, she wanted to make it the best skincare more accessible, more affordable, and just more fun, right? And not such a serious thing. So she ended up opening a kind of like her own clinic in a wellness center. And what came from that is just kind of realizing there was this big gap in the market, and that the current model for doing skincare was just really outdated and wasn't servicing people the way it should. So around that time, her and I got married, and we, kind of went on our honeymoon and to Bora Bora and sat like in an overwater hut. And we talked about all the things we'd learned in that first year before having that studio, and just kind of said like, okay, if you could design a business to address all of this, right? Like everything we've learned, if you could create a business that solved all of this, what would it look like? And that turned out to be Facialworks. So we came home from our honeymoon, and like 8 months later, opened that first location, and then just kept learning and tweaking and getting better and trying to be the best at what we did. And sure enough, clients started to respond and like it, and to become members and become frequent buyers of our products. And next thing you know, we're opening more locations, and now here we are after all that, ready to take it to the next level and expand nationally.
Wow. Okay. So what was your background when this whole thing was getting started?
Yeah, I actually came from finance. I was in commercial banking, and was just really looking for kind of a way out of that. Megan had a passion for this and an undeniable talent for it. And so I think together we made a really good team, and still continue to make a really good team.
So Jason, you're in Bora Bora, and you and Megan are talking about this. This is obviously, her brainchild from her background. Did you guys talk about you like quitting your job and you guys like both diving into this? I want to hear how big of a risk taker were you guys when you were thinking about this? This was more than just a pipe dream.
Yeah. I mean, I think to make it even a little bit crazier, keep in mind, no one had ever done a facial bar before. facials were always done in a room, right? Like 4 walls and a ceiling, and that's where you did your facial. So this idea that you were going to do facials out in the open, like in front of people, and the estheticians were going to be standing behind you, like standing up, like this was weird. So we honestly, we built this thing really not knowing if anyone was even going to show up, right? Like we're like, we might open this and people might just go, this is stupid, I'm not doing it. We just blew a couple $100,000 on this thing, right? But luckily that wasn't the case.
Wow. What did your friends and family say when you told them you were going to start this business?
Luckily, Meg and I come from families of entrepreneurs and friends who are entrepreneurs. So, I think they were all overall pretty supportive. I think my grandma said that there's easier ways to make money, but I think she'd be proud. She's no longer with us, but I think she'd be proud if she could see where we're at. So
I think so, with an exciting future ahead. So I guess I sort of have the visual here. It sounds like that the setup at these spas are almost like going to a hair salon. Is that what it's very similar?
Like a hair salon, or if you've ever been like a blow dry bar, those are, that's pretty a similar concept. So you walk in, you're going to be greeted by the receptionist. And then we have a bar set up, which is, we build out an actual bar with, in front of that is TV. And then your esthetician will stand behind you. There's chairs that recline, and they're going to do the facial standing behind you. And then on the back, behind the bar, that's where we'll have anywhere from 2 to 5 treatment rooms.
Okay. And your first location was in Orange County, California, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Newport Beach.
And great location, by the way. So after you opened Newport Beach, how long was it before you opened your second, your third, and your fourth, I guess, all in California?
Yeah, absolutely. So we started after about 2 years, we started kind of looking. We had like 2 kids in that time. So we were also pretty busy with that. So we were a busy first couple of years of, popping out children and trying to grow a business. But so we started looking after about 2 years, and then found 2 leases, and then took us, whatever it was, 6 months. So it was about 2.5 years from when we first opened to when we, actually it was longer. It was almost 3 years from when we first opened to when we first got those next locations open.
Okay.
But they opened like within a month of each other. And then it was about another 2 years until the 4th location opened. And then that was unfortunately late 2019. That one got about 2-3 months in operation. And then, California was pretty tough on beauty brands. So,
yeah.
But the good news was when it came back roaring strong, because everyone had missed getting their facials and their massages and all that. So,
sure.
Yeah, kind of made up for it in the ensuing years.
Well, you hung in there on that 4th location. You didn't close it down. You kept it going. You battled through, and you come out stronger on the other side. That's
100%. Yeah.
That's a huge lesson for people too that are listening to this. That hopefully we never have another pandemic. But I experienced that in the Great Recession. That we went through difficult times. In our case, we had a difficult time with awarding franchises. Our business didn't have a hard time with keeping customers or getting new customers, but man, you just got to stay with it. And if you can come out on the other side, a lot of businesses can't hang in there. And sometimes it's just the survival of the fittest on who can endure the pain. And if you can hang in there on the other side, you come out so much stronger.
Yeah, no, 100%. We've gone through a lot of tough stuff, whether it's, that or whatever crazy stuff happens. We've had floods that have closed locations and stuff like that. And you just gotta kind of roll with it, and it sucks and it's painful, and sometimes you have to almost start over. I had to almost like start over multiple times, but every time we do, like you said, you get stronger, and the business does better, and it just keeps growing and getting better. And the longer you stick around, your reputation grows, and if you do a good job, people talk about you. And we have people who know about us, even though we came from California. I'll talk to landlords in Florida, and they've heard about us, which is kind of insane.
That is crazy. That's great.
But that's like you said, just 10 years of just fighting through all the bad stuff that happens and continuing to try to do the best you can.
Yeah. Okay. So strategically, how did you and Megan decide on where to put that 2nd, 3rd, and 4th location? Like, did you want to benefit from being nearby and have it kind of a contiguous territory, or did you purposely pick different demographic markets? I want to kind of get me to where your mindset was at in picking those locations.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we were, is it close enough to where we can support it, right? Because when you're small, it's tough to support multiple locations, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't want like one in Orange County and then one in like North LA to where you have to drive, 2 hours. So we were looking at like, what are the other, kind of coastal cities in Orange County where it's close enough that us or our team can drive there if we need to. And then we feel like it's the right demographic, right? So I think, our clientele qualitatively is kind of like the busy working mother or working professional. Obviously we serve other demographics as well. Mm-hmm. But when we think about like, who did we really start this for? It's that, generally speaking, female who's short on time, wants to have that hour of be time, feel good, and do something that actually like is wellness, that benefits herself, that isn't just to feel good, but also has like some actual health benefits. So we were targeting that customer. So it was really about like, where are those people, right? So Huntington was great. There was a new shopping center called Pacific City that opened up that was getting very popular. So it was kind of like a natural fit for us to go from Newport Beach to Huntington Beach. Mm-hmm. And then going down south, I actually knew that market very well because my parents used to live in that neighborhood. So I knew that it was just filled with exactly our demographic. And it kind of has an incredible shopping center that's, I think, the best shopping center in South Orange County. And they had a spot for us, so it was also a no-brainer. The fourth one was kind of funny because it's owned by the Irvine Company, who I'm sure a lot of people know. It's one of the biggest landlords on the planet, or private landlords on the planet. And they just kept hounding us to do something with them because they really liked the concept. And we just kept telling them, nah, it's too expensive. Your rents are crazy. And so eventually, after saying no like 8 times, they gave us a really attractive location and a really attractive offer. So it was kind of one of those things where like we couldn't say no. And Irvine's another great market that continues to grow, and that's our second highest revenue store now.
Wow!
It opened. So yeah.
And that was the location that opened in 2019. So it came not only to come roaring back, but it ended up being your second best location.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. But it's in the Irvine spectrum, which is it's like a top 40 mall in America. It's a ton of foot traffic. So
right.
The rent's higher, but you don't have to like do a lot to bring people in. I mean, there's thousands of people walking by every single day.
Yeah. Oh, this is cool. So you got these 4 locations all in Orange County, and now we're going to make the move to opening company-owned locations in a couple in Florida. And now we're going to find out this thing's going to work now, coast to coast. So share with me some of your thoughts on why you picked the markets that you picked in Florida. How similar do they look to the markets that you've successfully done in California?
For sure. So just to clarify, so 1 in Florida and 1 in California.
Oh, that's right. So, I'm sorry. That's right. Boca and then Manhattan Beach you're going back to.
Manhattan Beach, yeah, California. So, I think that they line up well with Newport Beach, right, which is our highest grossing store, in that they're affluent markets, the right demographics, I think the right kind of like psychographics of who these people are and the type of things they like. Boca, we moved here. So the location we're opening is about a mile from our house, and it's the best outdoor shopping center. I think the best shopping center in Boca. That's not like a traditional mall. In Boca, you have Town Center Mall, which is kind of world famous, but it's like a giant indoor mall where you would get lost. So we're going to be in what's called Meisner Park, which is like this, very iconic, famous outdoor shopping center here in Boca Raton, that has concerts and like twice a week they've got concerts at their amphitheater. There's events all the time. There's great co-tenancy. So it was kind of a no-brainer. And like from the very first moment we came here, we said, hey, if we can find a spot in here, we should absolutely do this. And luckily we found a good spot. So yeah, excited for that one. And then going back to the West Coast, Manhattan Beach. We were aware of the shopping center for a long time. It's called The Point in Manhattan Beach. It's one of the best shopping centers in South LA. It's kind of one of those things where everybody knows about it. Everybody goes there. Again, like incredible co-tenancy. Funny enough, we're right next to Pause, which is another Repham brand. So yeah, again, just kind of a no-brainer. We've just been kind of lucky lately on getting the real estate that we want, like the really like A-class centers.
Sure, and that's going to be key for your franchisees to be successful now that you're starting up in that way. So, all right, so take me to this defining moment. You guys are, you've got the 4 company locations, and you got the 2 more that are coming. Where does franchise come into play? When do you and Megan decide? How you decide? When does it become even a thought that hey, I think we need to go the franchising route?
Yeah. I mean, we've been getting people asking us about it for years, like almost since we first opened, which we didn't really know much about. But I mean, even with one location, we had people Instagram DMing us and emailing us and calling the stores. So it kind of put it in our heads years ago that like this might be a route, although we didn't know too much about it. So it's been kind of a learning process. And then I think the thing that we've learned over the years, which I think kind of was the light bulb, right, is that as you expand outside of markets, really well, it's really hard to understand the nuances of location. And this is something that we've heard from some other, I won't name names, but like very famous brands that have been franchises that now we've kind of gotten into this market. We've talked to these people, and they'll tell stories about like, we have the right neighborhood, but we put it on the wrong side of the street because we didn't know that like there's this, annoying U-turn that nobody wants to make. So nobody will go to that side of the street because they don't want to make this U-turn, right? Like little things like that you would never know,
right?
If you're not from that market, right? Or if you're inside a shopping center, maybe there's one part of it that's great because everyone parks here and they go this way, so all the traffic is here. But the landlord's trying to push you into the center over here, into this unit that is not as good and doesn't get as much traffic because the landlords will try to push you to the units that nobody wants, right? Like that's one thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is if you ask them what's available, they're first going to show you the stuff that nobody wants. And then you have to go no, and then they'll show you the good ones, right? But that local knowledge of, hey, like I know exactly where this should go. And maybe it's not the most well-known place, but it's like, hey, there's the breakfast place that everybody eats at. There's the best hair salon in town is there. And everybody works out at this, whatever. And they have this great units available. Like that's something we're not going to know as someone who's not from that market. So right. I think it just clicked that if we find people who really know their markets and they're an active part of that community where they can then like just organically market through their own networks, they're gonna figure it out. Like they're gonna find the right locations. They're gonna alert everybody through their own networks, and then we're just gonna help them with the correct business model, the training, how to the build out portion of it, and then some ongoing training and marketing and operational support, and they're gonna be fine.
Yeah. All right. So whose idea was the franchise? You or Megan's?
Oh, probably me more push. I'm always the one coming up with the crazy ideas.
Are you the one responsible for all of this crazy growth and saying, hey, I think we need to open another location?
I mean, I won't say I'm responsible for it. I'm probably the one who's, pushing more to always do more, I think Megan's a little bit more cautious.
Right.
And I'm the one who doesn't maybe like think about all the ins and outs of how something's going to work. But then it's always worked out. We've got a great team in place. So yeah, I'll kind of push the stuff and then make everybody kind of figure out how to make it happen.
Yeah, well, that's near and dear to my heart, unfortunately. You're speaking my language.
Yeah.
All right. So when you decided the franchise, I assume you had no franchise background. You came from the finance, business. I'm curious because a lot of folks that are listening to our podcast or watching the episodes are folks that are looking to get into franchising or looking to buy a franchise. So I'm curious to know, like, how did you learn about getting into franchising? Where did you go? Tell me sort of the steps you took to franchising the company.
Yeah, well, that's where I think, Rep'em is so great, right? Because I think we realized pretty early that this is a different business than our business, right? Like you can be great at your business, but not be great at franchising.
Absolutely. Good point.
So I think we realized pretty quickly that there was a lot we didn't know. And that if we were going to succeed, we needed a partner who could really show us the ropes and help us and guide us as well. And I started doing research and I was looking for, obviously there's a million FSOs out there, but I was looking for other companies that are more than that, right? Like where they can actually really, nurture the brand as it grows. And I came across Rep'em, and just right away, I kind of felt like, okay, this is what we've been looking for. It's not just, hey, we're just going to go sell franchises for you, and then it's on you to figure out the rest. It's really like a partnership where we're partnering together to grow this thing, right? And they've been fantastic. Then finding out they have the build them component where they do the construction management. And by the way, we hired them to do construction management for our 2 locations, and they're incredible. I wish I would have had them for the last 4. We'd have saved a ton of money and a ton of headache. But yeah, so that's been where a lot of our learning and knowledge has come from. is the, I don't know, maybe 6 months or so that we've been with them. And then, just kind of like our own research we've done and everything before that.
Okay. Well, you've got a big decision coming here. I'm thinking strategically, Jason, that you and Megan have to think about. And that is, I think you've done a great job of getting the locations established, corporate wise. You've got the cash flow now, so you don't have to worry about selling franchises, keeping the lights on, like I talk about all the time, that people shouldn't do. You've established yourself. Now you're getting into another market here in Boca Raton, Florida. Fantastic. But I think, like, strategically, the big decision is, where do we go from here? You're clearly going to franchise. Are we going to keep opening company-owned locations and try this dual strategy? Or are we going to stop at a certain number of company-owned locations and say, we are a franchisor? Yeah. Where's your head at? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't anticipate opening that many more corporate locations. You never say never, but we'll be at 6, and I could see maybe a 7th. Maybe another one here in Florida would be nice. But I don't know that we're going to have 10 or 20. Maybe. I think we'll find out in the next few months if franchising starts to really roll, which it's looking like it's starting to. Then I think we just go with that, right? I mean, I think that for us, we've built a really good business with the existing corporate stores. Franchising can be a very nice business as well. Yeah, but you're right. We do have a decision. And I think we're going to know a lot more once we start getting these new markets open. If the new markets go gangbusters, I don't know. I might change my mind.
I think they have great potential. Well, there are a ton of markets out there that look like and feel like the territories that you've opened these company locations. Absolutely. So you've got a long way to go. I mean, obviously the benefits of franchising are well documented, that you can be able to grow a whole lot faster with other people as franchisees and their money and their expertise. And I can go on and on. I'm not gonna, truthfully though, I've never really said, like, I'm just this proponent of franchising. I don't think it's right for everybody. Clearly though, you've established your company well enough that there's enough markets that look like it and feel like it that you can expand quite rapidly. And you've got something really different and unique, which just really says something. I mean, heck, there's 4,000 franchisors out there. So if you can really establish yourself different in the market, that's something that I think is going to attract quite a number of people. What about, what's the investment range to open Facialworks?
Yeah, I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I think on the FDD, it's something like 430,000 up to it's about 800,000 on the high end.
Okay, and how big is a footprint of a location that you?
1,000 to 1,500 for our first location is what we're putting the footprint at.
Okay, so pretty small. Somebody doesn't need a huge location. Have you thought about, who do you think is your ideal franchise owner?
Yeah, I think it's someone who's really well connected in their community, who's passionate about wellness and beauty. I think more husband and wife teams would be great, although it doesn't have to be. But when we think about, like, what we're going to provide, right, which we're really doing a lot to build out the operational and marketing support. We actually have a pretty big team for a company this size. When we think about what we're going to provide, one was like, what do we want our franchisees to do, right? And I think before you can answer the question that you asked, you have to really think about, like, what is it they do? Are they, operators? Are they sales? Whatever. I think for us, a lot of what they're going to do is, first off, like, kind of team building, right? So they're going to go hire people. They're going to put together their team, and they're responsible for ensuring continuity of the appointment book, that clients can book. And then they're going to help us with kind of that marketing component of going out there into the community and getting the word out. Like, even here in Boca, just Megan and I going around and, like, talking about the brand has already got people kind of ready to go in and start getting treatments, right? Because if you tell the right person about this, they're 100% going to book an appointment. So it's just, if you can imagine someone who's really well connected in their community and is already able to put the word out there, they're going to get that initial group of clients just through their network, right? So even going out one level, hey, tell all their contacts, like, hey, this is coming, tell all your friends. That's going to fill up your initial appointment book without you really having to spend a ton of money on marketing. And then if you pair that with getting locations in good shopping centers with high visibility and walk by traffic, you're in great shape, right? So when we think about who is the franchisee, it's going to be someone who is good with people, right? Who can build those teams. They understand how to successfully put the right people in the right room, and then they're well connected in their community, and they have that desire and passion to bring the best of skincare to their market.
And how many employees do you think folks need to start with when they're opening a location?
They're probably going to want to start with about 4 to 5 full-time estheticians, and either they can self-manage in the beginning if they want, or they can hire a manager. So in that kind of 4 to 6 range, right? It depends on, I guess, where the location is, how busy it is, how what kind of, are you in a smaller town or is it a bigger city? You might grow faster. Certainly you can scale up your team, right, as you start to do well.
Yeah.
It takes a little while to get the momentum rolling, and then once you start rolling, then you add capacity.
Okay. Do you have an opinion, a strong opinion on whether you want to award strictly single unit franchises, or are you open to multi-unit franchises, selling 3-packs, 5-packs? What are your...
3 to 5 is probably great for now. I think Repum is quoting a price all the way up to 10. But I think I'd love to start with like 3 to 5. But hey, if the right person comes along and they are a great operator and they want to do more, certainly we'll discuss it. I think what we found is that building out a market is super helpful, because then you can kind of share staff. And that's something that we'll do is, hey, Newport's really busy today. Let's bring someone over from another store. Or someone called out over in this store. Can we get someone down there to cover them, right? So when you have multiple in one location, there's some great synergies. Also, just in terms of brand awareness, right? Like if you have one, you're kind of on an island, but hey, you build out 2 or 3, and all of a sudden you're the facial place in this region, right?
Right.
So I definitely think that if somebody wants to start with one, that's great, but it would be really for me ideal to find people who have the capacity to do at least 2, if not 3. I think 4 in one region starts to become a little bit much, just in terms of how do you get that many estheticians, because we are hiring licensed estheticians. But 3 to 4 in a market is I think very doable.
Okay. How far apart do you see ideally that your locations should be?
I don't know if there's necessarily like you must be this many miles. We service a neighborhood, right? So neighborhoods can sometimes be very, very different, just 3 miles apart from each other. Or it might be that like everybody in a 5 or 6 mile radius, frequents one shopping center. And I guess the example would be like our southernmost location is kind of in an area where there's not a whole lot of retail centers. So we're, in my opinion, the best retail center out there in that entire area. So it attracts people from 5, 6, 8 miles away who want to come to that center. Conversely, there's other markets we're in where there's probably people who are 2, 3 miles away who will go somewhere closer to them, because that's just they don't want to drive like 4 miles, right? So I don't think there's necessarily an answer. We look at it more from demographics. So Repum's had us bring on a software company that kind of builds your territories based on the demographic profile.
Smart.
So that's more what it's going to look like. And I think, whether it's they're 5 or 6 miles away from each other, whatever it is, it's going to be based on population.
Okay. Jason, how is your role going to change, or Megan's role going to change once you start awarding franchises? Who's going to be running or in charge of these company-owned locations, and who's going to be leading the franchise part of the business?
Yeah, so we're actually not really too involved in day-to-day operations now. Our director of operations, Scott, has been running the existing locations now for over 3 years. We've also have our company trainer, Brooke, who's been with the company for about 10 years, who trains all our staff.
Great.
She also works on product development with Megan. So we have a pretty good division of labor. Megan is really committed to the product line and building that out, and she's actually launching a bunch of new products, which is very exciting. And she's kind of like the brand architect and genius as well. So a lot of the visual design, the emails, kind of like the marketing components, all the customer touch points is really her vision, and she's incredible at that. I handle a lot of like this stuff, like the company cheerleader, go on podcasts, work on the contracts, legal stuff, all the kind of, sometimes I would say like boring stuff, but
somebody's got to do it, Jason. Somebody has to do the boring stuff.
Yeah, and then brand partnerships. So I spend a lot of time finding like other companies, or they find us, and just finding companies that can help us, because there's so many companies out there right now that are built to help franchises, right? And just finding the right fit for us with a lot of these things. So I'm kind of just like constantly talking to different vendors about like, hey, how do we plug you guys in for this component, right? So I guess I would say like facilitating the growth infrastructure is kind of what I do, and it's what I've been doing. So I don't think that's going to change much.
Sure.
I haven't run day-to-day operations of a store in a long time. So I think when franchisees onboard, a lot of the help is going to come from our operational team. So Scott, and he's got assistants who help him as well. So I don't foresee our role changing that much, other than we're going to be obviously doing some more traveling.
Well, it sounds like you guys complement each other really, really well.
Yeah, absolutely. Good team.
Yeah, and you have the infrastructure together really for franchising. Truthfully, you are much further along than most people that franchise their company. To have somebody in charge of truly the operations and training, and you only have company-owned locations thus far, that's saying something. That's pretty damn good.
We got a CMO. I mean, we've got a whole team. I mean, there's probably, I don't know, 10 plus people that are non-store staff, just building on just right now, like kind of building out the entire infrastructure of what this thing is going to become. I believe in growing internally before you grow externally. So
Smart.
That's what we're doing now is the internal growth. And we've actually been doing this for a long time now, getting ready. So
yeah,
I always tell my team, I say, plan for success. So I'm kind of making us, live what I say, and plan on this being successful, so that when it happens, we're not kind of caught off guard.
That's a great segue to what's the long-term vision of the company for you guys?
Yeah, I think right now I want to hit the major markets. There's obviously so many great beauty markets out there, from Vegas and Arizona, Texas could support so many locations, right? Florida, where we are, I mean, it's endless, right? So for me, it's like let's build out like the really great markets, right, and then kind of see where we're at. And whether it's opening a couple more corporate ones, I really think that we're going to lean heavily into franchising and see if we can like really build out those major markets. And along the way, we're going to pick up some of the smaller markets too. But I'm excited to see those stores also succeed. I can't say where we're going to be at in 5 to 10 years. I'm just really excited about where it's going and how I see things developing.
Did I catch you maybe touch on maybe trying a smaller market or something a little bit different than where you've previously been successful?
Yeah, I don't know if we would open a corporate location in a smaller city. I think those are great for franchises for all the reasons I said before, just like really understanding the nuances of that market. But we've already gotten territory checks for some smaller towns, and I think that's great, right? I don't think you have to be in a big city, right? Because big cities have more competition. So although yes, like it's great to be in a place where the demographics like really make your eyes pop out, but you're going to have 100 plus competitors,
right?
So it's better to go into a small city or smaller town where you've got the most unique, coolest thing out there, and no one can compete with what you do.
Yeah,
There's
for
something
sure.
to be said for that too.
Totally. All right, Jason. Well, this is great. I'm excited for you. I know you're going to be opening your first location in 2025. So it is an exciting year ahead. If someone was interested in learning more about Facialworks and maybe opening a location, where would they go?
Yeah, if someone's interested in learning more about franchising, I would go to our website, thefacialworks.com. And at the bottom, go to the Franchise With Us page. And there's a quick little form you fill out, and that will drop your contact information with Repum Group, who will reach out. Alternatively, if you want, you can contact Repum Group directly, Trisha, Trisha, at Repum, repmgroup.com.
Great. Well, Jason, you're going to come to find out that the franchise community is extremely generous and sharing. You can talk to competitors. I highly recommend you go to the IFA, go to Franchise Springboard, the Emerging Conference. But you're gonna come to find out that the community, it is a small community, and people are very willing to share what's worked and what hasn't worked. So with that said, although you're new to franchising, you've done all of the groundwork. You've laid all the groundwork and the foundation you've needed to franchise your company successfully. Is there maybe a piece of advice that you would give a fellow entrepreneur before they jumped into franchising?
Yeah, absolutely. I would just make sure that you really think through your systems and your processes, because I mean, even with our scale we've achieved so far, if you haven't really stress tested it and scaled and seen like how your processes break, it's going to be really tough for you to then take that and replicate that with a franchisee, right? So make sure you've got processes that are written down, make sure you have good HR systems in place, and it's all got to be really well documented. Like that's what we've done, right? And you want to have that stuff, because if you got to teach this to someone, how are you going to teach it if you don't have it written down? And you know that it is replicatable. And then simplify. We've done a lot to like simplify things, because I think in the beginning our operational processes were maybe more complex. But as you get to scale, you need to really simplify.
Smart. Well, Jason, you might be new to franchising, but you're certainly not new to entrepreneurship. That's great advice. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being on the show, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fiume, or Emerging Franchise Group LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.